Minister, in April, the country was shocked and appalled at the revelations made by Vicky Phelan about her cervical smear test and how she had to go to the High Court to fight for justice, even though she'd been diagnosed with terminal cancer. Vicky agreed to waive her right to privacy and also refused to sign a confidentiality clause, as she wanted other women to be made fully aware of her experiences. We then heard the heart-rending radio interview of Emma Vikvahuna, a young mother of 4 from Kerry, who had also been diagnosed with terminal cancer. Both of these women and many hundreds of others were not aware of an audit that had taken place which showed they had false negatives. 209 women who were diagnosed with cervical cancer were not told about subsequent audits showing previous smear tests could have brought about a different outcome. The government had committed to introduce mandatory disclosure in 2015, and it is indeed HSE policy since 2013. Yet it was exposed at the Public Accounts Committee that CervicalCheck, HSE and the Department of Health were informed that the audit results were knowingly withheld from the women affected. As we know, the head of CervicalCheck immediately resigned her post and the CEO of the HSE left. It was, but it still is, a national scandal. It has been an intense and emotional few weeks for the women and their families. But, Minister, it still continues. Even this morning at the PAC, CervicalCheck and the HSE had to apologise to members and to the State Claims Agency for giving them incorrect information that all women affected had been told. The fact that Dr Gabriel Scally, who was appointed by this Dáil to do the scoping inquiry on May the 8th, has not been given all the information he requires to do what the government and the Dáil asked him to do is absolutely outrageous, and I agree with Dr Scally when he says himself it is unacceptable. He has rightly said that he will not be stonewalled, yet there are agencies of this state willing to drag their feet and put up obstructions and continue in an inexcusable defensive manner to the government, the Dáil and, most importantly, the women involved, on the basis that they believe their actions are defensible. These women who want to get their records to examine exactly what happened, unfortunately do not have the luxury of time. The scoping inquiry was to be completed by the end of June. It's now delayed until approximately the end of summer. Minister, I know the government want the scoping inquiry completed as soon as possible, but now it looks like that will not happen. Under the scoping inquiry, information is being denied and delayed unacceptably by various administrative, medical, legal and other reasons. Minister, do you believe it is acceptable that it has taken a full month to send documents to the scoping inquiry, and then these documents were not sent in an accessible form to the inquiry team, particularly when a deadline of the end of June was made? Do you accept that the scoping inquiry is being buried under a mountain of paperwork and that the women affected deserve better? And finally, do you not agree at this stage it would be more prudent to set up a commission of inquiry now so that information can be sought rather than dragged from the agencies involved, and so that a resolution can be found sooner rather than later?
Minister Bruton. Well, I'd like to thank the Deputy for raising this issue. It is an extraordinary, serious matter, and the Government has taken it very seriously itself. This was something that, as you know, was never brought to the attention of the Minister or any previous Minister. The Government set up a serious management team to address this, and as you acknowledged, a number of changes at senior level have been made. The scoping inquiry has been put in place, and I think the Minister yesterday was absolutely clear, as was the Taoiseach, that full cooperation is demanded by every agency with the Scally inquiry, and that serious unhappiness was expressed by the Minister that the nature of the documentation provided wasn't in searchable form, that made it difficult for Dr Scally to do his work. And the Minister has made it categorically clear to Dr Scally that no such interruption in his work will be tolerated, and the Minister has been in touch with the HSE to confirm that. As you know, there is also work which the Government sanctioned by the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynaecologists psychologists who are working with the women affected and working through them case by case, meeting them on an individual basis so that their concerns can be fully addressed. In the interim period, Dr. Scally has made some very worthwhile proposals. He has made it very clear that in the consent form there should be guarantees given to women that they would receive the information and full disclosure would occur if any change in information from those smear tests was discovered. So new guarantees will be put into the consent form, and the HSE has indicated that will happen immediately. In addition, new information notices are being provided to anyone doing these tests so that it's very clear to women what are the, that there are possibilities of a smear test not being accurate, and I think that is being categorically provided. In addition, he recommended that expenses of women should be provided for, and €2,000 has been provided immediately so that no woman would have any difficulty in accessing the services that are being made available. The government has also provided a care package, and that is being rolled out to women who need this so that they can have access to care and to the support for any of their expenses that arise. So this inquiry is really important, and to address your question, I think this was addressed yesterday by the Taoiseach, where he did point out that if you have a commission of inquiry, you do result in longer delays. Each person will have to be lawyered up. We've seen the record of commissions of inquiry running very long. Many of these women don't have such long periods to wait, and it's really important that Dr. Scally, who we appointed, is allowed to do the work effectively, as he will do, and he's already proved his effectiveness in the interim report that he's given.
Now, Deputy O'Brien, you have a minute.
Thanks. Minister, I and my party believe, and that's why my party leader raised the matter earlier in the week, that it's actually the women and their families need to be put front and centre. And it's like some of our state agencies, they can't help themselves and they're dragging their feet on this. Now, what I asked earlier on is, do you actually think it's acceptable that it's taken over a month for incomplete information to be sent to the scoping inquiry? All of us in this House want to make sure that in a very, very timely fashion that we find out the truth, and most importantly the women and their families find out the truth. But a change of culture is needed. And I actually believe some of our agencies in the HSE and others are still acting in a very defensive manner and defending the indefensible. So that's why we believe firmly that a commission of inquiry actually needs to be set up where there's powers of compellability. And I don't want us to be coming back here in the autumn when we're still discussing the fact that the scoping inquiry hasn't got the information that they need. Minister, can you give us assurances and tell me, what does the end of the summer mean in the context of the scoping inquiry? Will this be completed by the end of June? Will it be July? Will it be August? These women do not have the luxury of time, as you yourself have said.
Thank you, Deputy.